China's ambassador to Australia has declared there's no reason that Donald Trump's return to the White House should damage ties between Canberra and Beijing. He's also said that he regrets the pain caused to Australian producers as a result of Beijing's campaign of trade punishment, although he was also quick to share the blame with Australia. Foreign Affairs reporter Stephen Jejets joins us now. So, Stephen, it sounds like Donald Trump's election win really loomed over this media conference.
Yeah, that's right, Ros. Unsurprisingly, the imminent return of Donald Trump to the White House did loom over this entire event. There are a couple of reasons for that. One, no one's sure exactly what Donald Trump is going to do when he gets into office, but one thing he's warned he will do is impose massive tariffs on Chinese goods. Now, if that happens, that could spark a trade war with catastrophic implications not just for the global economy, but also for the Australian economy, which is, of course, very much exposed to trade flows. So, unsurprisingly, Xiaochen got a lot of questions about what the return of Trump might mean for the global economy, what it might mean for the bilateral relationship, particularly given that Trump has appointed some hawkish advisors to key positions in his cabinet, who are people who are very strong on China and who are likely to try and continue or extend the Biden administration's efforts to try and hobble China's technological prowess and military progress. Now, the ambassador basically said there was no reason for Australia and China to be impacted by the Trump presidency, saying the two countries had to be, quote, mature, and that there was no reason for them to do the bidding of a, quote, third party. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
We're responsible for our own people. Australian government is responsible for Australian people. We have common grounds, and these common grounds has been the foundation for our good relations for the past several decades. They are bringing so many benefits to our two peoples and two countries. And there's reason for us to be responsibly manage our relations bilaterally well enough, mature enough, so that our two peoples can continue to benefit. And there's no reason for us to compromise our respective national interest for the sake of a third party.
Stephen, did the ambassador say whether China was on track to remove the remaining trade restrictions on Australian lobsters?
Yes, the ambassador sounded pretty confident that those last remaining restrictions would be lifted by the end of the year. He said there was still a bit of, quote, technical work that had to be done with a team visiting from China. But as of now, it does look like the government's promise that they'd be lifted ideally by Christmas, if not in time for the Chinese New Year in January next year, does seem to be on track. Of course, talking about lobsters served as a reminder of just how sweeping that campaign of economic punishment was. Some $20 billion a year in exports that were targeted by China under its campaign of economic punishment when the relationship was at its nadir under the Morrison government. The ambassador was asked whether he regretted the pain that was caused to Australian producers, and his response was an interesting one. He said yes, he did, although he was also quick to say that Australia had to share a bit of the blame. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
It's not wrong for me to say I regret, because something has happened during that period of time which have been causing damage to both sides. You know, as two partners between China and Australia, both sides benefit when we cooperate, and we lose when we don't. So that is the sheer facts. What has happened during that several years before 2 years ago was something that the Chinese side didn't want to see it happen. So I regret that it happened. But secondly, it was perhaps I could put it in a different way, that it is not something the Chinese government imposed on Australian products. It's an issue related to, you need to look at it from several aspects. For example, it involves the the government policies vis-a-vis our trading. And the Australian government imposed tariffs on Chinese products. And so the Chinese side imposed tariffs on the Australian products. And then our two countries fight on to the WTO. And under that framework, we have now successfully solved most of the disputes.
Now, finally, Ros, there was also an intriguing line from the Chinese ambassador when he said he would like to see closer military-to-military ties between Australia and China, pointing out that a while ago there were even bilateral military exercises between the two countries. But given the deep mistrust that we're seeing in the current era between Australia and China, given the multiple confrontations that we've seen in places like the Yellow Sea and the South China Sea between Australian and Chinese forces, I don't think that prospect is going to heave into view anytime soon.